Alright, for the hell of it, I'm going to make a guide on your first decent go at an endurance run once you've unlocked everything necessary in Gemcraft to jump your wizard level up by quite a few levels. You'll probably be in the 150 to 250 range. I'm going to set this up on F1, and when you're picking the difficulty, you want to try and do haunting since it's kind of like a lower level thing. You should be able to pull it off if you've unlocked everything. And max everything. See, I'm a bit of a noob myself. I don't even have this last option unlocked yet, but you'll max everything but Mana Lock and Hatred. And if you haven't unlocked absolutely everything in the game, you want to at least make sure before you follow along with this guide that you've unlocked the spells Bolt and Barrage, the ability to build amplifiers and traps. You want the black, orange, yellow, and red gems unlocked. You also want to have your skill points spent in such a way that you have enough mana to start off okay, but also empower the right skills. You'll kind of be able to garner what you want to spend your skill points on while watching this, what's imperative. Things like True Colors and Mana Leech, Bloodbound. Those are like the bread and butter. Like at 150 to 250 you won't be able to max out your capped skills or anything, but yeah, just you can kind of do what you prefer. You're watching this video and you see what's strong, what would help you kind of get into position quicker, and buff that with your skill points as you see fit. Alright, I'm in F1 and I'm going to disenchant, or I guess eat these gems for the mana and set up the map how it should be set up. What I will show you is the setup you want to get to and build to. You might not get there right away with all your initial mana, because you probably have a lot less than I currently do now if you're riding below wizard level 300, but you can kind of get there on your own with what you think works the best. But I'll go ahead and take a break here and set it up. Alright, so I got a basic setup going on here, and to reiterate, this is something that you will build up to. You'll probably be using some sort of mana gem to start off with as your way to kill the monsters, to farm up mana so you can get to this point, but that you can tool around with on your own. The basic setup is you're going to have a mana farm that is 6 amplifiers, each with mana gems in them, and a trap with your primary mana gem, which is a combination of orange, black, and red. I'll go into further like how I build the gem later at the end of the video, but without trying to complicate things, you'll also have a kill gem set up in complement to the mana farm, and they both share an amplifier here, so that's why it's like a half yellow, half orange. For the kill gem setup, it's all yellows in the amplifier, and a kill gem, which I will explain also how to make that one. It's yellow, black, and red. The slows, you got one before the kill gem, one before the mana gem. For obvious logistical reasons, there's also a slow gem after the kill gem for any mistakes, monsters that break through. Get your orblets and bring them back, then they'll be slowed when they're heading back into the kill gem. Just a nice precautionary thing. And the main, and also the tower gem with a kill gem duplicate of your kill gem in a trap in a tower, so that you can kill any ghosts and beacons that spawn. Beacons are these little nodes that empower the monsters. And so before I go on into like empowering these waves and how to go about that, The primary setup is going to be the monsters will enter, be slowed, walk very slowly over the mana gem you have built, give you just an absolute shit ton of mana, and then make their way to the kill gem, which they will be slowed before approaching, and then die. And the kill gem will multiply with all the hits and the kills. The Bloodbound passive will multiply everything about it and get stronger and stronger. That's the main setup. It's really simple. You want to make sure that your amplifiers are up 4 levels below your main gem that they're buffing. So these would be 4 levels below the mana gem. These crit amps would be 4 levels below your kill gem. It'll take a bit of getting used to and experimenting around to get to the point where once you have it set up and you don't want your mana gem killing anything, and you want it set up as I just described a little bit ago, you don't want anything to die on the slow or the mana gem. And so it takes a little bit of finesse and just tooling around to gradually get to the setup and have things die the way you want them to. How you do that is empowering waves and doing it with the knowledge of how much damage you're doing with your gems. You want to have barrage casted on your mana gem. I'll go ahead and wait for it to pop up there. Got the barrage spell. So anytime you upgrade it, you want to cast barrage because it'll reset the global cooldown. I'll just give an example here. Upgrade that gem. Upgrade this. We cast barrage on it. For one, it gives a permanent buff, 30% increased specials, but it also resets the global cooldown, so anytime you upgrade your mana gem, you want to always have barrage on cooldown. And in the same token, bolt is what you're going to be buffing your kill gem with, so if you buff that and then hit bolt on it, it ignores all armor. So as you're buffing the waves, as I'll explain a little bit, you can disregard armor because the kill gem is going to do so. And if I hit play, you'll notice that the kill gem and the mana gem will just keep going. They won't have like a global cooldown like the amps that I upgraded but didn't apply a spell to, which is really important for making sure monsters don't slip through your defenses. So to calculate the amount of damage you're doing with your kill gem, which is really important when you're empowering the waves, you're working around that. You're going to take the max damage, which in this case would be 3368, times it by the crit multiplier, 192.89, and that's your max damage. And you want to empower the waves up to the point but not over that amount of damage so that you're able to kill them. And ideally, since your kill gem is ignoring armor, when you're doing it right, the kill gem will kill them, but they will pass over the mana gem and not die, which is really important for building late game power in your kill gem, and also just for all the ticks of the mana gem. If it kills the mob, then it's not ticking on the mob as many times as it could be. When you're empowering waves, you're basically bombing the waves on the side. And if you make sure that the gem you're using to bomb is in the top and left part of your gem storage area, and that will be the one that's always chosen when you hit the B button to bomb, or more importantly, hit B, hold B and then hit shift, and then you're holding both buttons and you're able to spend mana gems, like build them and spend them concurrently so that you're not using the one that's in your inventory. It's really convenient. And so while you have shift held down now, you can use your mouse wheel to scroll up and down the amount of bombs you're using of the grade 1 gems. And you're going to bomb them, since your kill gem ignores armor, to the point that the hit points is less but close to your kill gem's max damage times crit, as I said before. The ultimate goal here is to get the maximum amount of mobs, which is 999 per wave, that are killable, and using grade 1 gems to do so because they give you the most beacons. Beacons are a huge source of XP. I'll go into that in a little bit. But if you upgrade your gem to grade 2, 3, 4, and so on that you're using to bomb your waves, it will increase the hit points and the armor at a slower rate, but also give you less beacons. So there's a bit of a balance there that you'll hit when you're really far into the endurance run and starting to hit your limits. But for a while there, you're going to be able to use grade 1 gems, and that's the preference. In order to be killing the beacons that are spawning, you're going to be using a duplication of your kill gem in a tower. And you want to keep it upgraded such that it's able to kill the beacons, but not killing monsters, because you want your kill gem to continue to build the Bloodbound passive. You're able to do that because as you're empowering these waves to the point that your kill gem can kill it, the beacons aren't empowered, so they're as weak as they ever would be. So you can lag the level of your tower kill gem behind the level of your main trap kill gem pretty easily, to the point where you can have, I think in the mid to late 20s, especially if you build some amps around the tower, which is preferable with crit gems in the amps, the yellow ones. Those increase the AoE range, so in like the mid 20s, I think, somewhere in there, you'll be able to cover the whole map in its range. And it won't kill any mobs, but it will kill every beacon that spawns every time an empowered wave spawns, which is really important. Alright, now I'll kind of go over how the game will end when things start getting rough, what sort of changes we'll make. Then after that I'll go through like how I actually make the mana gem, the kill gem, and the slow gems specifically. But eventually you're going to run to the point where you're trying to get 999 mobs with grade 1 gems so that you get the most amount of beacons to kill for all that XP. But the amount of hit points and armor the mobs will gain will be too much for you to kill with grade 1 gems and still have 999 mobs. In that case, like let's say you're just experimenting around, you're trying to see, and you're like, oops, oh, the hit points went up too high, I can't kill it. You just hit the delete key while you're hovering over, and it'll take that off. It doesn't give you your mana back, but usually when you're empowering waves, the mana that you're using is completely inconsequential. So anyway, you'll get to the point where you're upgrading your gem and empowering waves with further upgraded gems because you want to hit that 999 mobs, but also keep the maximum amount of beacons. You'll get to the point where the mobs are so strong that you can't even upgrade them even with really high upgraded gems. Again, the higher the gem that you're using to empower the wave, the lower the hit points and armor that is raised from the mob, but the less beacons you get. So you'll hit a breaking point where you can't even empower them, and at that point is right around the time when your mana gem will be producing mana at such a slow rate you can't really upgrade anything. In fact, that is the primary governing factor, when your mana gem just cannot sustain you with more levels for your kill gem and itself, the mana gem. Then you scrap everything for the most part, and you just take your kill gem out of the trap, you set it in a tower, surround it with 8 amplifiers with crit, and you just nuke everything as it appears on the screen. Obviously you're still empowering your waves, you're using the same guidance of trying to do it with the lowest gem grade possible to get 999 monsters so that you can get the maximum amount of beacons, but you want to be able to kill it. And when it's in the tower, it can't ignore armor. When you use Bolt on a tower gem, it just gives it the Bolt spell in general, it doesn't give it the ignore armor buff. So when you're empowering them, you have to add your armor and your hit points together, and then have that be less than the maximum damage times the crit multiplier. And from that point on, it's just a beacon farm to the point where you won't even be able to empower waves because their hit points are so high, and you will just hit like a sort of soft enrage that will overrun you eventually. But if you've done everything right, you will get enough XP to go many wizard levels high. Like, you could go from 400 to over 1,000 pretty easily if you do things properly. Alright, with all that explained, I'll explain how I built the gems. I use a Gemcombiner program that I can put a link for in the description that a lot of people use to play this game, because when you're making gems, just making them flatly and straightforward is inefficient. So you can have this program that like makes the gems, makes multiple versions of each level, combines them into themselves for really complicated formulas to make them that much more powerful. There's a lot of complexity there. And there's also things called combines, which you can look up on your own. It's kind of like beyond the scope of this guide. But you won't be able to see, due to fraps, I'm not sure why, you won't be able to see the program I'm using, but I can kind of explain it so that you can hop into it if you go follow through the link and download it. It won't be all that complicated. What I'll do is, from a top-down or a tab menu, I'll select Kill Spec and Mana Spec to make the Kill gem and the Mana gem respectively. Kill Spec, and then the next drop-down menu, you can choose any combination. The further down, the more complex and more potent it will be. And then for the rest of the time after you've made it, you can just hit the U button to upgrade it. Again, you can look up combines. That's a whole other thing though, but yeah, you just hit U to upgrade. But the best one you can make, you should try and make. We'll just pick the fourth one down, which would be like a 62 spec kill gem. And it says in the bottom right of the menu when you download the program, gem locations 1A, 1B, 1C would be yellow, black, and red. And if you look in, as I'm playing the game, yellow, black, and red are the locations. You hover over once you've pulled up the spec in the program, hit the number 9 key, and it'll build it. It'll do all those steps for you and make a really efficient gem. That would be your kill gem. The mana gem is pretty much the same, except you choose mana spec in the program. And then if you're doing the fourth one down, the 64, which is a 60-step gem, just like the last one, but it's orange, black, and red instead, because it's the mana gem, obviously. Do that, hit 9, make it, that's your mana gem. The way I make my slow gem is really simple, just a grade 2 blue, grade 2 black, and a grade 1 red. Put the red and the blue, combine them, and you can level the slow gem. And from the amplifiers it's near, I think in the low 20s, it'll get to the point where it's at 90% slow for however many seconds, and that's all you really need. You don't really need to go any further with that. It's pretty simple. Alright, that pretty much concludes the guide. One important thing is that your computer will lag, no matter how strong it is. It'll be about as useful as Anne Frank's drum set. It'll be worthless. It'll be 1 frame per second or whatever, because when you're empowering the waves to 999 and then the beacon's spawning and all the killing and calculations and hits per second going on, it'll crawl. One of the ways you can limit that is by whatever map you're using, getting the kill and the mana farm as close to the entrance as possible on a single entrance map. That way there's less monsters on screen at any given time, but it will lag, and it's part of late mid-game just doing long endurance runs in general. Once your mana farming just kind of caps out and you switch to the tower kill gem surrounded with amps and you grind out the beacons, that's a little quicker because you're killing everything before it really appears on screen, and the only lag you get is when the entire map fills up with a beacon in every spot that they can be crammed into, and then they all kind of die instantly, but the lag is a few seconds, and that's just normal territory for the game. There's no real way to limit that. You can force low settings in your graphical options. I'd presume that you would do that before doing a really long endurance run like this. It's really just a necessity. But I think that covers pretty much everything. Thanks for following.